All right, well, I think more people probably will still arrive because some people, more people than is registered. So I think probably they'll start arriving. But you know how it goes. People are teaching on some other bit of campus or whatever. So we'll make a start, and they can join us when they join us. Hi everybody, and welcome to the latest in the Activism in Progress series, which is organised by the Linguistic Association of Great Britain's Subcommittee for Race and Social Justice in Linguistics, which is a bit of a mouthful. There's still time if you'd like to present in this series this term or next term. There is still time to nominate yourself or someone else, especially if you know someone, for example, we might not know of, or who's from a marginalised community or anything like that. That would be great if you nominate someone else with their permission, ideally. We will invite them to be part of the series. And there is a form on our website, but I'll also just pop it into the chat. There, just so that we have them all in one place and we can invite people to be part of the series. This is being recorded right now, and we'll make it available on the LAGB's YouTube channel once we've done things like correcting the captioning and so on. Right, so welcome everybody. Ramona Gonczol is an expert in the Romanian language and has authored 2 books on it, and also in applied linguistics with several education and teaching qualifications. Today she's going to speak about her outreach work with museums and secondary schools, promoting heritage languages, including Romanian. And so without any further chat, I'll hand over to you, Ramona, if you'd like to share your slides.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for inviting me. So I'll just share my PowerPoint. Is it visible? I'll go to slideshow as well, yeah?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Doesn't want to go to the slideshow. Just 1 second, yeah. Don't know why. Yeah, now.
Lovely.
Yeah. So, as Laura said, I teach Romanian at the School of Slavonic and East European Studies, which is a department of UCL in London. And today I'd like to talk about 2 outreach projects that, together with a few of my colleagues, did with several secondary schools with a view to promote, maintain, encourage heritage languages and really get to know students, you know, who are speakers of several heritage languages and hopefully our future students. So today I'll talk about 2 projects, and if we have time, I'll mention another one that I've done with my BA students, so inside UCL. So the first one is called PEAL. We call it the PEAL project, which stands for Proficiency in East European Languages, and the second one, RAP, the RAP project, Raising Aspirations in Heritage Speakers in Secondary Schools. Just want to move to the next slide. Just 1 second. I'm sure everything will be fine in the end. I don't know why it doesn't want to move to the next slide.
Did you try both using the mouse and the arrow keys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stop sharing because it's a bit stuck. I don't know why. And then I just won't use the
Okay.
slideshow. I'll just use the normal. Yeah. Sorry about that. So let's share again, and then sorry about that. So yeah, this is better, I think. So the first project, like I said, is the PEAL project that ran between 2021 and 2024 for 3 years. We covered initially 2 languages and then added another one, but I'll tell you in more detail on this slide. So the beginnings of the project were very much a grassroots project in the sense that we've been approached by this school, high school in North Wales called Connah's Quay, who told us that they have 150 heritage speakers of heritage and home speakers of Romanian and Bulgarian, and they would like to do something with their languages. We obviously realized that this is a great opportunity and we're very happy to join, despite the fact that we did it on a voluntary basis, no funding to start with. And what we tried in the first 2 years of this project was to create some materials for the students to improve their linguistic gaps, if you want, and at the end of the year to produce these proficiency tests, which only had two parts, an oracy part and a written part, comparable to the GCSE entry level, and offer them diploma, which had the logo of UCL and of their school, in which we specified, whether they passed the test and whether they did well. I mean, it wasn't very, very formal, but it was just a way of showing that they are proficient in their respective heritage language. In the first year, we had 30 students joining in year 11, and in the second year, 60 students.
Sorry, could I just interrupt, Ramona? Have you moved the slides on? Because we're still seeing your cover slide.
I have moved the slides on. Yeah, I'm on slide 3.
Yeah, we're not seeing that. Sorry.
I don't know what the problem is. Let's see.
There are, I don't know which way you
Do you see a
share.
new slide now?
No, it's still on your title slide.
I mean, I'm moving them along. I don't know why.
I assume that's the same for everyone else. I'm still seeing your title slide. There's a couple
I'll stop sharing and try again. I mean, there's nothing.
Yeah, maybe
else
try
now.
the other way. Like if you did a slideshow this time, just share your window maybe instead. Sorry about this.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. So let's hope that it works. Do you see anything or?
Still the first slide.
We can see your first slide, but yeah, I can see
And
your
your
mouse
cursor.
moving though. Yeah.
Is it moving now or?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes, great.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I kind of. It's almost like there's something wrong. So sorry. Right. Do you see another slide now? The beginnings, called the beginnings.
Yeah, in the not the slideshow view.
Yeah, not in the slideshow. I
Yeah.
think I'm going to stay away from the slideshow because it doesn't seem to work. So
Okay.
I've already covered this slide, by telling you the story behind on how the project started. So we move to the project goals. Do you see that? Just checking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So the goal of this project was to improve their heritage, language, and culture. To bridge the gap between school education and universities, to raise the visibility of heritage languages, to celebrate heritage languages, and last but not least, to build a case for introducing more heritage languages in GCSE exams. So the department where I teach covers 18 languages from the region, as we call it, and the region is made up of Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Southeast Europe, the Baltic countries, and Russia. So it's quite a wide territory. And out of these 18 languages that we offer here, only 2 have GCSEs, and they are Russian and Polish. We also wanted to recognize multilingualism and the cultural diversity that these students can bring by, proving their proficiency in languages. And again, to boost their pride in their heritage in general, so linguistic and cultural, because we did realize that due to misperceptions, misconceptions, prejudices, stereotypes that were proliferated through media, they often kind of shy away from talking about their heritage or being proud of it. So we wanted to change that. In order to change that, we also worked terribly stuck, this presentation. And has it moved along? Sorry.
We're seeing what is
Yeah.
PEEL information.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. We also understood that we have to work with the parents as well. They need to understand what we want with this project, why their kids are involved in it, and to have their support, because at the end of the day, home and heritage languages are mainly supported by the families. So we created this information sheet for parents in which we explained the purpose of the project and what we want to achieve with it. So in the first 2 years, that's what we did. But in the third year of the project, we started to offer 6 online sessions per year to the students, and the test at the end, the same proficiency test, and the diploma. So the first 2 years, we did it on a voluntary basis, no funding, and only worked with the school in Wales. I already covered the fact that the test had a written component, narrative and functional, and an oracy component. Pupils were very happy to participate and perform quite well in the test, even if they didn't have a lot of preparation. They were very happy to get a UCL certificate. We even got a runner-up award from UCL Outreach and widening participation, but still no funding in the first 2 years, despite the award, if you want. Eventually, funding arrived for the third year. Once funding arrived, I mean, it was mainly for covering lunches and things like that and traveling, so it wasn't a huge amount of funding, but I think we're talking £2,000. We immediately added 2 more schools from London, Buxton School and Parkview, from areas that are heavily populated by speakers of the languages that we cover, and also the Ukrainian language. We then started, like I said, to offer 6 online simultaneous sessions, 1 hour long, in all the 3 languages with all 3 schools. So there would be 2 sessions per term. And it would be quite a kind of action, you know, because the school had to have, each school had to have 3 different rooms, 1 for Romanian, 1 for Bulgarian, 1 for Ukrainian, and then, you know, manage the kids and so on. And on my screen, for instance, I would have 3 screens with each school. So it was quite a hard kind of method to deliver the sessions, but we couldn't do anything else because we couldn't afford the time to go to 3 different schools, and 1 was in Wales. The feedback was positive. I do have a couple of slides with what the students said. But the technical difficulties were significant. Also, sometimes, of course, you know, the audio would fail, especially at their end rather than at my end. And it was just hard to kind of manage, you know, a room with kids that would be 1 screen on my desktop and then another room with kids. So they didn't have individual computers or anything like that. The final phase of the project after 3 years was that we invited all the students involved to come to UCL for a long day, a 6-hour visit. 80 pupils came in total from the 3 schools, including from Wales. And we talked to them about degrees that they can do in their heritage and home languages here at CEAS, and career paths that are achievable for them with their languages. We also invited student ambassadors that could talk to them about life at university, and they were given a campus tour. They really enjoyed the day at UCL. Schools always like to come to universities and get a direct experience of the campus and what happens there. And again, we had quite positive feedback. This is an example of the UCL certificate. So on the left, you have our logo, and on the right, the school logo. And it simply states that the respective student demonstrated proficiency in, I chose one with Bulgarian, but it was the same for all languages, at native level in both written and oral tests. And we signed the diploma. Here are some photos with the kids coming to UCL and with their certificates. And 1 slide with students' feedback. So we had 4 questions. What aspects of the grammar sessions have you found most helpful in improving your proficiency in Romanian? I chose examples from Romanian. And then they explained what they found useful. So, for instance, that feedback that says, I learned when to use 1E, 2E, or 3E, it refers to spelling rules in Romanian that they were not very aware of, because they came to the UK or were born here. So the ones that were born here were never exposed to any formal Romanian education. The ones that came to the UK at various stages of their lives, again, there was such a diverse range of situations. Some came very early and did all their schooling in the UK. Others came at the age of 10, 12, and so on. So it all depended whether they have been exposed to anything formal, formal education in Romania and went to school there or not. So their spelling and generally written language is struggling, let's say. Even this feedback, I learned to create full sentences. So that shows that, they never really wrote in Romanian extensively and so on. In what ways has this project contributed to your sense of identity and belonging? Because when you deal with heritage and home languages, you very much deal with issues of identity and belonging as well. They cannot be separated. And we were quite touched by what they said. So for instance, here we have someone saying, it made me feel more comfortable with where I come from. The situation with certain backgrounds, such as the Romanian one, for instance, but equally the Bulgarian one or the Albanian one, is controversial. They're not always happy to admit that they come from these countries because they fear that, they would be labeled or othered, and so on. So for them, I think it was quite a relief to kind of be in an environment where all this was celebrated and encouraged, and they were helped to improve their gaps, in language as well as in culture on a very small scale. 6 hours is not a lot, but we were very efficient, It made me realize that I lost many Romanian traditions since moving to the UK is another one. We learned about carols. Okay, they really liked anything interactive like that. I felt proud and more confident. This kind of feedback really makes it all worthwhile. I felt very proud of my country and cultures. We do not learn these things abroad. So that really pointed out, the lack of any exposure of their heritage, culture and language in the UK that they can encounter. What did you like best about these sessions? How understanding everyone was that I was able to come to UCL. When we talked about history, what a lovely thing to hear that they enjoyed some historical facts. All people in the class were from the same culture. So again, that was quite a telling statement. They don't necessarily meet so many other heritage and home speakers in their lives. Even in the same school, we realized that the schools are not so encouraging and supportive to create communities. So they meet if they meet, and if they don't, they don't. So it's not supported. It was fun. That's also an important piece of feedback, isn't it? That, you managed to deliver it in a fun way. And they maybe feel special as we do not have a GCSE in Romanian. So this is really a issue that stands out throughout the first project and the second project. Was there anything you didn't like? I would have liked more classes. Many of them said that. The internet connection was bad at times. I would have liked more grammar. That made my heart swell to hear that they would have liked more grammar. And then I would have liked face-to-face lessons. And we did listen to that, you'll see in a minute. The main project outcomes, I would say, were the importance of to demonstrate the importance of their heritage language in the British society. And we did talk to them about that, to underline that they are already at least bilinguals, if not multilinguals, because some of them might have been born in a first country which was not Romania. So they emigrate either, sometimes it was Romania, Italy, the UK, or they were born in Greece and then came to the UK. So, sometimes they did speak 2, 3, 4 languages as well. The right to have a GCSE in their heritage language was also very much highlighted by us. The university options, they definitely were not aware that they can do a degree in Romanian or Bulgarian or Albanian, and they were quite happy to kind of find out that they could, even if they didn't all put their hand up to say, yes, we're going to go for that. But just knowing that they can, or telling other friends that they can, is still very important. Heritage language can benefit their future education and career opportunities. It was another idea that we highlighted. And the fact that the students' well-being was visibly improved throughout the project. As you could see in the feedback, they felt happy, more proud, happy to meet other speakers of the same language and so on. you know, not having your heritage, language and culture maintained, encouraged, celebrated can lead to you feeling quite incomplete in your identity, which is linked to well-being, the general and overall well-being. And I'm very happy that we managed to achieve all that. After the PEEL project was successfully completed, we obtained funding for the next project, the RAP project, which I'll present in a minute. They both culminated with a national symposium on language identity and belonging for home and heritage speakers. We started to disseminate our work, like I'm doing even now, at national and international conferences. We're planning a second larger symposium in July 2026, so that's this year coming, with more schools. I will talk about the first one as well in a second. It will be online because you know, that's a way in which we can attract a lot of schools. If it's physical as the first one was, then only a limited number of people can come. Of course, we welcome any kind of collaborations with other specialists that are interested in these topics. Just dealing with my clunky computer. So now I'm going to talk about the RAP project, which only lasted 1 year, and it stands for Raising Aspirations in Heritage Speakers of Albanian, Bulgarian and Romanian, with 1 secondary school. So from the 3 secondary schools, we chose the most diverse one, which is the Parkview School in Haringey, London, because we wanted to go more in depth and to avoid any online interaction, which didn't go very well, although it did paid off, yeah. So this time we worked with Romanian, Bulgarian and Albanian. Ukrainian was not included in the second project because they kind of have quite a lot of outlets where they can do it because of the war, unfortunately. So, you know, there's a lot of Ukrainian provision available, whilst again, the Albanian situation is similar to the Bulgarian and Romanian one. We also had guest languages that I'll tell you about in a second. And that's not because they didn't have GCSEs, because they very much do. It's because the school asked for more heritage speakers of Portuguese and Spanish, but particularly Brazilian Portuguese and Latin American Spanish to join the project and benefit from it. So we, of course, allowed them. The project goals of the second project were to raise aspirations for heritage speakers to access higher education establishments and find appropriate career paths. So we moved from doing a more linguistic and culture-based project to a wider kind of goal, if you want, to raise their aspirations. But we learned that because of the first project. And also to look at the integration experiences of Romanian, Bulgarian and Albanian heritage speakers in secondary school settings, examining their cultural and linguistic identity development. To look at school efforts and provisions that support their integration and culture in a broader sense, and to demystify the university application system and requirements, as well as inspiring trust in equal opportunities and chances for everyone to university educations. All these goals of the second project were lessons that we learned in the first project, and we realized that that would be very beneficial. This time, because we worked with just 1 school, but a lot of students, I mean, we in the end covered 5 languages, so there were probably close to 100 students. We had 3 sessions, all on UCL campus. So we changed the format very much. They only came to UCL. Each session was 3 hours long, so half a day if you want. And these are the 3 topics of the 3 sessions, but I'll talk about each session separately. The first session was called Where Next? Oh, sorry. The first session was called Me as a Citizen of the World. And we talked about identities, multiculturalism, citizenship, and allowed them very much and encouraged them to tell their story. So it was very, very highly interactive. We asked them to tell us about their background and how they've used or not used their heritage languages, how they feel about them. We also talked about stereotypes, because this is the big elephant in the room. And they were pleasantly surprised that, you know, things that they kind of avoided and covered were brought in the open and discussed and analyzed. We also talked about, when it comes to stereotypes, we talked about what stereotypes Romanians have towards other people. So it wasn't just a case of victimizing, Romanians, for instance. Yeah, so it was more for them to understand how stereotypes appear, how they are disseminated, how we have to be, quite critical, to apply critical thinking when it comes to it, and so on. We also talked about Romanian culture, music, customs, tradition, food, museums, prize winners, famous Romanian prize winners. But the same was in each session. We designed the sessions together, but talking about the 3 different cultures. UNESCO protected sites in each country, interesting cultural facts, highlights, and so on. Famous Romanians that live in the UK, like there's a prima ballerina, there's a former director of the big business corporation, and so on and so forth, just to show them that it can be done. These people are Romanian just like them, they come from similar backgrounds, and so on. The second session was called Where Next with My Heritage. This one, again, showcased successful people from their community, as well as why would they, even consider UCL and particularly CES. So we showed them what we do at CES, what courses we do, and so on. In this second session, we added Portuguese because the school really insisted on that, and we're very happy to do that. It was also a very practical session. We had subtitling exercises. I have a couple of examples, interpreting between themselves, and job interviews. They very much like the job interview exercise. So here's an example of subtitling practices. We took some very short, video snippets from YouTube and used a little app, and they subtitle what they could hear. And here's an example of a play, role play job interview in Romanian. I also used, for instance, in this session, like live links of jobs that require Romanian in the UK, so they could see that it's a real thing, I'm not inventing it. And for them, learning to write a very sketchy CV, and then, being able to answer typical job interview questions in Romanian, and role playing. As you can see, the girl in white is the candidate, and the people on the left are the, the panel, so to speak. Was very enjoyable, and I think educational, really. The third session was called Life at University. By this time, we also invited a Latin American Spanish speaker cohort of students. So by now we go to 5 languages. We initially, part of this 3-hour session, because each session was 3 hours, we had an individual session, a writing task. We asked them to write a fairy tale with visual prompts, very simple. We chose Little Red Riding Hood, just to kind of see more of how they write, and for us to analyze, the needs that they have in writing. And then had a joint lecture. So the first hour was this writing task, and then a joint lecture based on proverbs and language families, combining all 5 languages. And then the last hour was career paths and examples of degrees they can do at UCL. Also giving them time to fill in feedback forms, and awarding them the certificates. It was a very happy day, I'd say. So here's a little example of how they had to write as much as they wanted. It wasn't stressful at all. The Little Red Riding Hood from these prompts on the board. And here's the joint lecture with all the 5 members of staff, the Portuguese teacher, Bulgarian, Spanish, myself, and the Albanian. In this joint session, again, we try to make it very interactive and fun. We chose proverbs that are very well known, and asked them, how do they say it in their language, and then for them to see how they are expressed in other languages. Sometimes we laughed because they can sound funny in another language, even if not in yours, and they enjoyed it. And then also we did a very brief linguistic comparison between the languages, again translating this English proverb, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, in the 5 languages, but finding the equivalents, not just a direct translation of the proverb. So how do you, what proverb do you have in your language that's very, very close in meaning to this one? For instance, in Romanian, it's the chip doesn't fall far from the tree. So it's not the apple, but it's the chip. And so on. And then another one, when there's smoke, there's fire. So we kind of played with these proverbs and also showed them language tree, which for them, it was the first time that they understood how languages are connected and where they come from and so on. And then I have 2 slides of feedback, because I think feedback is always important. So what are the main 3 things you liked about this project? So they said we could comfortably speak our language, that you guys care about us. So you see all this kind of personal touch was very important for them. Recognition. I mean, just saying that says a lot, that they felt recognized and important in terms of their heritage, that they found out about future opportunities, different types of culture around us, or learning about the other colleagues, if you want, or peers' cultures was also appreciated. Are there any specific aspects linked to your heritage, language, and culture that you learned during this project? How important is my language? How I can use my language as an advantage? What jobs I can use with my language? Sorry for that. This one was a bit longer, so it has 6 questions. How has this project helped you to understand your heritage, language, and culture better, and the importance of preserving them? We should be proud of our culture and embrace it. It made me feel closer to my Bulgarian side, and I want to learn more about Bulgaria, learn some key facts about history, writers, poems. So even if it wasn't a lot, I hope we open their appetite for them to learn more about their heritage, culture, and hopefully to continue. Has this project, sorry, there's a mistake there, helped you connect with others who share your heritage, language, and culture, and in which way? Yes, it showed us that we are much closer in language and heritage than we thought. Some people don't know about their country, so we all helped each other. I learned more about my peers and their experiences. I widened my knowledge in other countries. How has this project changed your plans about going to university? I want to go now even more and build a further path in education. It has opened more pathways and has really opened my eyes, and so on. So again, I think we succeeded in giving them hope, I guess, and showing them various opportunities that they might have. A couple of photos. And then I'll move on to talk about the symposium that we had after the 2 projects. Like I said, after 4 years, the scope was to present the 2 projects, to create a network of schools and higher education specialists, to explore strategies to support and promote heritage languages. We had 4 seminar presentations on international multilingual projects, 1 on heritage languages in school, 1 on multilingual libraries, and 1 on multilingual curriculum in a primary school. We also allowed that there were only 2 schools that attended the symposia to have their own presentations. One of them, I think, spoke for half an hour. The one that we worked with in both projects, Parkview School, they had a lot to say, and it was very interesting. 2 pupils that took part in the project talk. In this picture is the girl next to me in red, and then the boy with red hair in the middle. They were happy to come and talk to UCL. I mean, that's big for them at their age, and they did very well. And then we had a little workshop to network and discuss solutions. The outcomes were conferences, the fact that I joined the special interest group in ALL, and I also am working on a text proposal for a book on Romanian for heritage speakers. What we learned from running these practical projects? A lot is the short answer. The profile of the HHCL speaker is vast and varied. It matters very much what's the age of onset, whether they emigrated or were born here, the length of time that they spent in home country, intermediary countries, or here. Schools are busy. We quickly learned that we work with them when they tell us they can, and we had a smooth collaboration because we accepted this condition in a way, because it's very hard to work with schools. They're often reluctant simply because they don't have time, they don't have the resources and so on. So if you make it dead easy for them, it's more likely that they'll accept to work with you. The languages we covered are little acknowledged, and students were puzzled by the sudden attention. We did realize that they were kind of taken aback a bit, like, all my life nobody said anything about my background, and now you guys come and celebrate it so much. I mean, it was a good thing, but they were kind of surprised. Often their model is one of their parents. Therefore, raising their aspirations and pride for their heritage is more important in a way than fixing the language and culture issues through such limited projects, I mean. Now, of course, if one of the parents is extremely inspiring, that's great, but often that's not the case in these communities, because many of them are economic migrants, so they come to kind of find better jobs and things like that, and are not always very privileged in their background or highly educated. We also notice that some want to sound very British at the cost of their heritage language. They want to have a very British accent, or, I mean, of course, this is a generalization, London accent or whatever community they live in, as they try to fit in and conceal their true identity. That's very important. They had no idea that their languages are needed, important, deserve to be celebrated. They don't know each other even inside the same school. I mentioned that already. And they need our help with what? With the GCSE. I am actually in the middle of a big campaign for a GCSE in Romanian, to raise their future aspirations and teach them to be active citizens and celebrate their multilingualism and not hide it, as often was the case. So this is the end of my presentation on the 2 outreach project. I have one more slide if you're interested, but it's okay if you're not, on this project that I've done and am presenting actually on Tuesday with UCL students who study Romanian. Shall I go to talk for 1 minute about that one as well, or?
I mean, I'd be interested. I don't know if anyone else
Okay.
wants.
All right, I'll just spend 2 minutes and then we could move on to discussions and questions and answers. So this project was sponsored. So we had funding that paid the students for their work, which was great, by an initiative inside UCL, which is called Changemaker. So Changemaker department, if you want, encourages student-staff collaboration projects, and we won this project. It's called Searching for Romanian Heritage in London Museums. The project challenge, because we finished it, but it still challenges stereotypical perceptions and prejudices about what Romanian heritage means. It combats discriminatory perceptions promoted through mass media and the ill-informed general public by highlighting Romanian cultural artifacts in several London museums that focus on ethnography, the world, and communities. The scope was so the heritage speaker students often relate emotionally to such topics, as they sometimes experience or witness various degrees of discrimination against their families. The project is a great opportunity for them to understand more about themselves and read literature that deals with such difficult topics. Awareness, reflection, and change of such instances through cultural endeavors is empowering, even healing for heritage speakers, as well as helping with combating prejudices. The questions we tried to answer through this project were: how do I relate to what I found in museums? How can I use my museum experience to improve perceptions about my heritage? What did I learn about my heritage? What do I want to do in the future with my heritage and the experiences I went through during this project? We used multimodal storytelling through visual repository, a blog, a podcast. We are building a web page. We also participated in a student conference called RAISE, and they produced a podcast, like that. And we use experimental and object-based learning as an engaging pedagogy and linguistic ethnography through direct observation and reflections. The outcomes of the project contribute to the understanding of the intangible heritage that the 2 heritage students, there were 2, will create through interpreting and reflecting on the findings. So even their reflections are actually an artifact that other students can benefit from by reading what they've experienced and what they've learned. The students gain new experiences in working as a team, co-creating resources and presenting them. I mean, they learned a lot of practical skills, creating a podcast, a blog, a presentation that happens on the 20th of January next week, and so on. So we participate in this RAISE conference and are doing this presentation. Yeah, That's it, actually. That's it. Thank you, mulțumesc, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you so much. If anyone has a question, then you can raise your hand with the thing if you want, or you can just unmute and ask it. I don't know if you've noticed, Ramona, but you've got a comment from Ava in the chat about the symposium.
No, not yet. I'll open it.
Yeah. Or equally, if anyone isn't able to use the mic or wants to ask a question, then put that in the chat as well. That's also fine.
Yeah, so I'm more than happy to advertise the next symposium. I have a LinkedIn. I think that will be the main channel for advertising, just because lots of schools are on LinkedIn and teachers, and my LinkedIn name is simply my name. I'll double check now, but I'm sure it's just my name.
And if no one else immediately has a question, then I will ask mine, which was, when the students visited UCL, did the teachers also come, and what was their thoughts about it? What was their feedback on the project?
Oh, the teachers loved it. I mean, it happened that, so the way we contacted the school, one came to us, so that teacher was very enthusiastic about everything. She initiated the whole thing, the one in Wales. The second school, I simply stumbled over it by a happy accident, in the sense that someone inside UCL knew that school and told me about it. And the contact person was the head of the inclusion team. That was great. But the third school replied to an open call. Only one school replied, yeah, to an open call. So because they were, very willing to participate, they were happy, feedback was great, and yeah, they enjoyed coming to UCL, even the teachers. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, because I was assuming that teachers aren't themselves speakers of these languages, so it's something that they, extra to them, or was that not a true assumption?
That was not the case in two schools. So the Wales and one of the London schools, the teachers who accompany the students and were the contact person were English